So good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me. I was approached just probably about a month ago to sit on this panel. I know previously Dr. Helfer and then Cindy Zumwald has spoke here, so I hope to serve as a good surrogate for you all. Can I switch out these microphones?
It's this microphone. Can we hear in the back?
Do I need to speak louder? I'm much better if I don't have to hold the microphone. I speak with my hands.
Can I hold it for you?
No? Okay. So, like Stephanie said, I serve as the division supervisor for the Educator Effectiveness Division. We serve educators and stakeholders in 3 ways, most notably licensure, renewal, and then my role is to primarily play in the arena of educator preparation in the state. So the staff that I oversee serve as liaison for our approved preparation programs in the state of Illinois. Today my presentation is going to focus on just that, preparation in the state of Illinois. We're going to include our redesigned early childhood programs, important timelines and dates. We may play in the minutia for just a moment of the hot topic item of ESL and bilingual. And then additionally, I'd like to share with you some highlights from the state around early childhood education. I'd like to provide just one caveat, is that my strength is in educator preparation for the state of Illinois, and I know that we have an early childhood division at the state, so if there are any questions that I don't touch that you'd like to just reach out to the Illinois State Board of Education, I'm happy to take those with me and make sure that someone responds to you. So if you include those questions on your card, also just include either a phone number or an email address, and I'm happy to have that early childhood division speak to those. So first, I'd like to just walk all of you through the process that an educator preparation program would need to go through in order to submit a new program for the state. They complete a program proposal first. The program proposal's criteria is listed on this slide for you to see. It's also important to note that this program proposal is indicative of program admission requirements and criteria and program course of study. It excludes general education coursework. It also excludes that criteria that may be different from the initial admittance criteria at the institution. So for example, the admission criteria for an ACT score may be lower than that for their professional program. So going on, you'll see that the proposal that institutions submit include faculty, courses of study, additionally field experiences, specifically speaking to how an institution would measure their candidates' experience in diversity or working with different demographic groups. And most notably is the new inclusion of how institutions are going to measure their candidates' experience with technology relevant to the field. Institutions provide a robust amount of information around assessments, most notably those assessments included in the EdTPA that our candidates take. And then finally, the proposals conclude with standards. The standards I have listed up there, I know they're a little bit small to oversee, but those are the ones that are included in our redesigned programs for the state. So I'm sure most of you know, and we'll talk about in the next slide, that Illinois has charged institutions with redesigning their early childhood programs. So their current programs that we have now are birth to grade 3, and the new programs are birth to grade 2 and incorporate a number of new standards. The standards include, of course, our state standards from our Illinois Administrative Code Part 26, the IPTS Illinois Professional Learning Teaching Standards, the social and emotional learning standards, the national standards, which is the National Association of the, you guys know it better than I do, thank you, education of young children, and then any indicators for CAPE. As institutions create these proposals, they are working with our team daily. But once they submit them to the state, they have this great opportunity to have the proposals reviewed by an anonymous panel of peers. This panel has been very rich for our educator preparation programs, as the panel really dives deep and looks at the depth and breadth of the program proposal and how they're going to ensure that candidates are prepared effectively. Of course, the program proposals are then reviewed by our State Educator Licensure and Preparation Board, which is a mouthful and that we have dubbed SUPPLB. And then SUPPLB ultimately recommends the approval or disapproval of these programs to the state board. So I'd like to highlight this process to talk more, to include the next timeline. Prior to my coming to the agency, a stakeholder group convened starting in 2013 around the redesign of standards for early childhood education. We're currently in the implementation phases of this redesign. The timeline that I've provided you also really speaks to the shift that Illinois is at right now, because we have a variety of changes with licensure and grade ranges, as many of you know, I'm sure. To highlight some of these that are up there, this fall is the last year that candidates would be admitted into an old birth to grade 3 program. So if those institutions, four-year institutions, have programs that admit candidates in August, they're still able to do that. And then moving on down, September 19th of 2019 and then again in 2020 are really big dates for early childhood, especially regarding our preparation programs. In September 1st of 2019, not only do the programs have to be completed at the institution, the old birth to 3 programs, but candidates have to be completed with all of their coursework in that program. The institution would then have a year to entitle these candidates. And additionally, on April 13th, our state board has adopted the rule that's listed there, which would just apply to those candidates that are going through ISB transcript evaluation and seeking an endorsement in early childhood education birth to grade 3. So now, currently in rule, JCAR is pending right now, so we're hopeful in the next few months it'll show up in rule. Is that candidates that are interested in seeking a birth to grade 3 endorsement would need to apply to ISB on or before September 1st of 2020. I wanted to provide some statistics around our approved educator preparation programs for early childhood candidates to you. And this is also echoes the redesign of these programs. Currently, we have 29 institutions in the state of Illinois that have approved early childhood birth to grade 3 programs. Of those programs, 23 of them have submitted redesigned programs with the redesigned standards and the redesigned grade range, which would be birth to grade 2. One of the institutions, it's a brand new program for their institution. So they technically didn't have a birth to grade 3, but they took the charge for redesign of the programs and created a brand new program. We've had 12 institutions approved. So they currently and can now admit candidates to their birth to grade 2 program. Of those 12, 3 are alternative programs. Can I see a raise of hands who know what an alternative program is for the state of Illinois? It's kind of shifted. Does everyone know what an alternative program is? So an alternative program in the state of Illinois is where a candidate, then I'll be kind of candid, does a summer boot camp, and then they're actually placed in a classroom as a teacher of record that first year. Then they do another kind of summer boot camp, and then they're placed for that second year. The district and the institution of higher education have an agreement, and those candidates are highly mentored. They have a rotating program coordinator and such. Their alternative programs are most notably appeal to our, just lost the word, career changers. Most notably appeal to our career changers. So these candidates have to have a qualifying degree in a content area and then are able to go right into the classroom in early childhood. So we have 3 of those right now in Illinois. The big number here is that we have 10 institutions right now that are undergoing or plan to undergo peer review for their redesigned Birth to Grade 2 programs. So we will have 23 total. Also, I thought it was important to just highlight the early childhood special education program. So these candidates would be able to serve in an early childhood self-contained classroom or an early childhood special education classroom. And we have just 4 institutions in the state of Illinois that offer those programs. Additionally, this timeline hasn't been shared, so you guys are the first group, but the test for early childhood education that will align with our new programs is hopefully available this December. Other dates that I think as the Illinois State Board of Education would charge this kind of group with is understanding the date that has passed already. So last July, there was a charge for all preschool teachers serving English learners to have the ESL or bilingual endorsement, whatever was applicable to their classroom assignment. And that is current in rule now, so that rule still applies. September 1st of 2019 is an exciting timeline again, knowing about all of the work that this panel is doing and then also being here today, that each educator preparation program with an early childhood program is going to become entitled by the Gateways to Opportunity Illinois Professional Development System by aligning its coursework to the benchmarks for the Early Childhood Education Credential Level 5. So ISB is excited about this. I know we all talk in fiscal years here, so it's a little bit far out, but we anticipate working with INCRA and Gateways to ensure that we are provided the evidence we need from those institutions, as well as INCRA to know who is working and where they are in this planning process. I'd like to just pivot our focus a little bit and also thank those faculty members that provided some feedback around topics they wanted to hear from ISB today. I can tell you from the number of topics I got, this was the biggest highlight here. So ESL and bilingual endorsements. As many of you know, August 9th of 2016, rules became in place and implemented ESL and bilingual standards for the state of Illinois, which we're very excited about. Also with that came the rule that by September 1st of 2018, institutions that offer coursework in these areas would align to the ESL and bilingual standards. The standards can be found in Part 27 of our Illinois Administrative Code. While this date seems not far out, we've had 10 institutions currently submit coursework that aligns and crosswork documents that show their alignment to these areas. We convened a stakeholder group to see, since now we do have standards, should our requirements remain the same, and there was a resounding yes. So the requirements for an ESL and bilingual endorsement will remain the same in our current today. Just to remind you, there are 18 semester hours in the content of ESL or bilingual, and I'll show that distribution in just a minute, as well as 100 clock hours or the reciprocal waiver of teaching experience. And of course, the bilingual endorsement requires the target language proficiency exam. So still just dabbling on the ESL and bilingual endorsement, I did just want to show you what areas or coursework distributions we have for those 2 endorsements. It's important to identify also that the courses in blue span across both endorsements. Often in the field we hear that that's too robust for candidates to get both endorsements because it would be like taking 2 separate mini programs, but really you can see that 3 of those areas complement each other. So they can use the same coursework for both endorsements. Additionally, I just wanted to highlight to receive these endorsements, your candidates have 2 options, of course, institution entitlement, but also they can come to ISB for transcript evaluation. When we review transcripts, I can tell you that daily we review 2-year and 4-year transcripts from candidates seeking ESL and bilingual endorsements. And as long as the institution, whether it's 2 or 4 years, regionally accredited, and the coursework's been passed with a C or above, we honor it. Now, it does also need to align with those distribution areas, so we wouldn't take a basket weaving course for linguistics. We want to ensure that we're honoring consistently those courses as well. Also, it's important to note that we have had a change in our policy as far as grade ranges for endorsements on ESL and bilingual. So now candidates will get the full grade range. So if an early childhood teacher that also has a K-12 art endorsement, they would get K-12 ESL. I just wanted to highlight those endorsement areas that are available currently for early childhood teachers. All of these are available. Bilingual and ESL, foreign language, library information specialist, technology specialist, gifted reading, and then, of course, the special education learning behavior specialist 1. There are a variety of approvals that are available for early childhood teachers. The bilingual special education approval, early childhood special education approval, English as a second language special education approval, and then our short-term emergency approvals are also available because they would hold a Pell. Finally, just some highlights, and I don't know if I'll have time to demonstrate what I wanted to, so we may put that off, possibly to the end. The first highlight is that this fall, late summer into the fall, ISB is going to convene a group of stakeholders to look at special education standards. Now, this may touch specifically around the learning behavior specialist endorsement. This may touch some of those standards that are also included for the early childhood special education approval. So we're excited about this work that's going to happen. We also, just to note, Pearson is going to look at standard setting for the TAP, or the Test of Basic Skills, that's used for program entry for our candidates or our educators. And then I wanted to just show you some highlights about the assessment, the performance-based assessment that we used in Illinois, which is the EdTPA. Currently, last year, so from implementation until August 31st, we've had a 98% pass rate. So I think that's something to be very proud of for our candidates. Lastly, I'll just highlight 2 things. The Preparation Points newsletter is on our new website. If you just Google it, it will come up for you. This is a great resource to find any updates from the Illinois State Board of Education around educator preparation. And then lastly, I just wanted to touch on the work that our agency is doing with preparation programs in the state. We have worked with institutions that have volunteered for a mini pilot, and the Partnership for Educator Preparation Initiative is to be able to basically track a candidate from entry into an educator preparation program through where they're currently employed, and then continue with their employment through the state. I had an example of what reports institutions would receive. I don't know if we'll have time for it to show you, but if at the break you'd want to see it, I can bring my computer up. 39 of our 59 institutions have volunteered to be part of this mini pilot, and 7 of those institutions offered up their early childhood programs to be part of the pilot. So right now we have those institutions that are able to track their candidates, complete our candidates from the previous 4 years to where they're currently working in Illinois now. We don't anticipate any of our work to be public until 2020 for the Partnership for Educator Preparation. But we understand that one of the biggest deficits, not only in K-12 but in early childhood, is tying some of our employment data to those candidates that may work outside of the public realm, where they don't have to report to EIS, which is our data system that captures these. Currently, we're in discussions with 2 different organizations, one of which is just a employment tracking system for not only statewide but nationally. It's not education-based, so that would give us an area of opportunity to track these candidates outside the public system. So we're excited about the continued work that group has. So, thank you.
very much, Tina.